Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And as we continue marching through the month of March, we're going to be talking about eating, which is something we have to do at least 3 times a day. Unless you count your midnight snack, and then you have 4 meals a day. Or unless you're fasting or something, then you may only have 1 or 2 meals a day. But most of us have 3 meals a day. And sometimes we're going to experience a formal dinner.Yeah,
now, formal dinner kind of scares a lot of people out there. Not just people who live in a country that they weren't born in. I think a lot of people in America, they're always afraid to go to these formal dinners because they're not sure which plate or fork or utensil or spoon to use. It can be really confusing. If you've seen the table settings for some of these formal dinners, you can understand why people are afraid of them.Indeed,
and of course not all of us are fortunate enough to have a formal dinner, but you might be invited to a formal dinner sometime in the future, and I'm very confident that many of our dear students will be quite successful one day and may actually put on a formal dinner for people. So yeah, we're going to talk about some of the rules that go along with formal dinners if you put on such a dinner or if you are invited to such a dinner. So let's get to it. It's all about the formal table setting. Let's listen to the entire contents of our lesson now, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
Keep your elbows off the table and your napkin in your lap. These table manners are just the tip of the iceberg. Use our guide to understand the setting of a comprehensive, multi-course formal dinner. Cutlery.This is placed from outside to inside in order of use, with the dinner fork and knife flanking the plate on each side. Forks are set to the left of the charger and knives to the right, with knife blades facing inward. The soup or fruit spoon goes to the right of the knives. Plate setting. The largest plate, the charger, is the focal point of the table setting.Service plates or the soup bowl are set on the charger as each course arrives. The charger is swapped with the entree plate when the main course arrives. Napkin. The napkin is folded and placed on top of the charger before the service. The host will place theirs in their lap first, and the guest should follow. Glasses. These are placed to the right, above knives and spoons.The water glass sits closest to the diner, followed by the white wine, red wine, and champagne glasses at the outermost edge. Bread dish and butter knife. Dessert spoon and fork. Dinner fork. Fish fork. Salad fork. Dinner knife. Fish knife. Salad knife. Soup spoon. Water glass. White wine glass.Red wine glass, champagne flute.
Okay, let's get into our lesson now. We're talking about a formal table setting. Now, just to let you know, I grew up in the country in a very small town, so a lot of this stuff I have never experienced before and probably never will. We basically just had utensils, knives, forks, and spoons, and a plate, and maybe a salad fork, and possibly a butter knife if we were having bread, but really no more than that. But again, for formal situations, you're going to know a lot more, or going to need to know more about the kinds of utensils you have, the plates, etc.
Okay, so 2 basic rules are stated in the first sentence there. You shouldn't have your elbows on the table.That one, you kind of are taught in America, at least as a kid, get your elbows off the table, get your elbows off the table. And of course, it's great if you have a napkin in your lap. But I had a casual childhood for the most part. I didn't have to go to a lot of formal dinners. And we didn't have napkins on our laps. We just had napkins by our plate, and we'd use those. And they were paper. They weren't cloth. If you're at a formal dinner, those napkins are cloth.
Yeah, and that's something new I learned too. If you're at a formal dinner or a nice restaurant, you're supposed to put that napkin in your lap. But to me, that kind of means that you're assuming that you're going to be a sloppy eater. So I think to me, that's kind of strange to actually expect food to fall down there. Yeah, I was like you. Basically, when I was a kid, we had the napkin to the side there in case we needed it, which we used at the end of a meal. But in any case, those are the two most basic rules. Keep your elbows off the table and keep a napkin in your lap. These table manners are just the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, we do use that phrase quite a bit when we talk about something that is much more deep than what we can see. Okay, if you look at an iceberg, you know that gee, maybe 80% of the iceberg is underwater. So yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of this particular subject.
Yeah, maybe you're at work and you're working on a project with your teammates and you come across some problems and you discover that those problems are actually quite extensive. So what you thought was going to maybe be a simple solution is not going to be so easy because there are even more problems the lower you dig or the more you dig and discover what's going on. So tip of the iceberg, like Tom said, we actually use this phrase a lot. So use our guide, it says here, to understand the setting of a comprehensive multi-course formal dinner. Yeah, usually, unless you're at a very big, grand event, you're not going to have to deal with this. But it's something you should learn because when you go out and you start working, you're going to be invited to some of these dinners and you don't want to feel uncomfortable. So I love that we're doing this unit. It's great. So if you're talking about something that's comprehensive, guys, just means it includes everything. It's not just one aspect or one element of something. It's everything. Comprehensive health care would be health care that helps you stay healthy, and then once you're sick, helps you recover your health. We hear about comprehensive health care a lot. And here we've got a multi-course. So many courses are part of a formal dinner. You can say multi or multi. They're both correct.
I grew up with 3 courses. The first one was the salad, and then you had the actual meal.
See, and we put our salad with the main course.
Yeah.
So I guess we had 2 courses. Mom would do, salad, main course, vegetable, and then if you got dessert, it was last.
Right, yeah, I would say that's 2 is more common. In restaurants, though, you might see 3.
Oh, true.
But in more formal restaurants, of course, you're going to have a multi-course formal dinner. Let's first of all talk about the cutlery here, which is kind of a fancy word for silverware or utensils, knives, forks, and spoons. But if you're talking about a formal dinner, then you will use the word cutlery, although it often refers to just the knives that are used to cut food, like the chef in the kitchen would have a set of cutlery knives to cut the food while he or she is cooking.
So that's what cutlery is. It includes all your utensils. I think this is the most difficult part, but if you just keep thinking outside in, that's kind of the trick or the tip that I learned in high school, outside in. So you use the utensils that are further away from your plate first. So we're going to talk about this. This is placed from outside to inside in order of use. So the people who set the table actually have the hardest job. They need to know all the rules. You just have to go outside to inside with your utensils or cutlery. You've got dinner fork and knife flanking the plate on each side. Usually you hear about this word flank as a verb when you talk about football, American football. But here it just means it's to the side of something really large, like a mountain or a building. You could also talk about something flanking. It's the right or left side of a body of people, like an army or a soccer team. We use it that way too, but it's just to the side that we're using that word here. And of course, it's a verb.
It's often used in military settings, like, for example, the Japanese attacked the Americans' left flank during the battle. But in this particular case, we're talking about the sides of your dinner setting there. And I remember a scene from the movie Titanic where Kathy Bates' character told Leonardo DiCaprio, just start from the outside and work your way in. She was referring to the cutlery or the silverware there because he had never been to a formal dinner before.
Yeah, he was a poor guy. Yeah. Kathy Bates was the unsinkable Molly Brown.
That's exactly right. She did a great job in that movie, but that was, 20, 30 years ago? Who knows?
It was a long time ago.
But in any case, yes, well, let's talk about the forks here. Forks are set to the left of the charger and knives to the right with knife blades facing inward. Charger, both Stephanie and myself talked about this before the show, and we had never heard of this before. But a charger is like a large plate in front of you where other plates are placed on top and then they're taken away as you go through your meal. I don't think any food is actually put on the charger itself.
No, another dish or plate is placed on that charger. The charger is quite big. So if you watch some formal dinners, you'll see the wait staff, the waiters and the waitresses, just simply remove the plate that's on that charger and replace it with something else. That is until the main course comes. So one of the things that you need to remember, I had forgotten this, that if you're talking about the knives, you've got the blades facing inward. I forgot that, but that's true. My mom was telling me about that when I was a kid. So the blade is the part that's very sharp. It's the cutting edge of the knife. So that's the blade. And inward just means towards the inside of whatever you're referring to. Face inward. If you face outward, you're going to turn your body in the opposite way, of course. So facing inward. Sometimes when you get a large group of people and you take a family photograph or maybe just a group photograph, your photographer will say face inward. Or face outward.
Yeah, people on the left will face toward their left, I guess. Or, well, you get the idea. Some people face...
Depends on where you are, huh?
Yeah, it depends on the actual picture. But they're all kind of facing toward the center or facing inward. And then finally, the soup or fruit spoon goes to the right of the knives. Okay, so you're going to need a separate spoon for the soup and one for the fruit. Okay, so I guess they're smaller maybe or a different shape?
No, they're kind of round and big. Remember the soup spoon?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next time I'll know that. Next time I'm at a formal dinner setting. Okay, we'll talk about the plate setting in just a second, but we're going to take a break right now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天的单元很特别哦，是要来谈谈西方的一个餐桌摆设。因为平时我们大概吃饭就是合菜啦，要不然可能是忙的话可能买个便当之类的。可是其实大概印象当中，对于西餐会觉得好像有很多礼仪耶。比如说像第一段当中就是手肘不能放桌上， Keep your elbows off the table， 或者是呢餐巾不可以挂在上衣，也就是脖子那个附近。因为我们有时候看影集或者是电影，好像会很随便的就把不管是纸或者是布的 napkin 这个餐巾呢挂在这个衣服上，这是不行的。餐巾呢要放在大腿的上面。但是虽然我们知道这一两件事情，可是其实这一些餐桌礼仪大概只是冰山一角。我们来看一下第一段第一行最后面，这个冰山一角的一角一点点 tip 指的是顶尖尖端的意思，它指的意思是这个我们对于事物的了解比表面的还要更少。也就是说我们今天跟明天其实会谈很多有关于餐桌摆设啦，或者是餐桌礼仪啊这些东西，而且还没有全部讲完哦。所以我们来赶快看一下第一个餐具方面 cutlery 这个一部分到底应该要怎么摆呢？因为西方有叉子、刀子、汤匙、盘子，这些东西很多。首先呢，有一个大原则的方向，就是先使用的要放在比较外面，后使用的摆在比较里面。所以我刚刚讲这个概念就出现在餐具这个部分的第一句 This is placed from outside to inside， 从外面到里面 in order of use， 以什么样的 order， 以什么样的秩序呢？用使用的这个秩序方面，先用的放外面，后用的才放里面。可是这句话当中啊，我们要注意一下，有一个 with 的用法，在这里，因为 with 你要注意，它是一个介系词，所以介系词后面如果碰到一个动作动词的话，就不能用动词的原形或过去式，一定要用动词的 ing。所以附带的状况，我们回到第一句，附带的状况是 dinner fork and knife， 就要放在内侧 flanking the plate on each side。所以这里的 flanking 一定要用动词 ing， 因为它前面是用 with 来做一个语义的连接。所以同样在这里的第二句，接下来我们也看到的是 with 加上 knife blades， 刀锋的话则是要面朝内，有一个动作是朝哪个方向，用 face 当动词。可是在这句话当中，我们用介系词来表达它语义的连结，所以 face 这个动词要换成 facing。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We are talking about formal table settings and how you deal with those if you get an invite or an invitation to a very formal dinner. Usually when you get an invitation to a formal dinner, you're also quite dressed up. So that's something you have to consider as well. So we started off by talking about the basic rules of good table manners. Keep your elbows off the table and your napkin in your lap. Again, they're cloth napkins. You can pick up your napkin to dab at your mouth if you have food you think is to the side of your lips or something. You don't want to look like a slob. And then we moved on to how the table's actually set. If somebody wants you to set the table, that's the phrase they use. Can you set the table? My mom would always say that to one of the kids. Hey, can you set the table? So cutlery, of course, is your utensils, your knives, forks, spoons. It would also include the serving spoons or the big knives that we have at the table that are used to cut some of those dishes. Maybe you have a turkey, so you have a really big knife for that. So we also said cutlery. The big tip we have to give you today is that you need to think outside in when you think in terms of which knife or fork or spoon to use first.
Okay, so there you have it for the cutlery or the utensils or the silverware. And the plate setting is next. So the largest plate, the charger, which we mentioned before, is the focal point of the table setting. When I was a kid, of course, growing up, we did not use a charger, and I would have to wait many decades before I'd actually know what a charger was. Well, now we all know a charger is the largest plate, and it's the focal point of the table setting. The focal point is like the main focus. Just like at a birthday party, the birthday cake is the focal point. That's where all the attention is centered on that birthday cake with the candles and singing happy birthday and blowing out the candles. Exactly. So in this particular case, yeah, you got to have that charger there. It's just a blank plate, which everything else is placed on and then taken away as you work through the courses in your meal.
As I think back, sometimes we'd set a more formal table for Christmas when I was growing up. And we'd have that, I called it the main course dish. That was the charger. And then we'd have our soup bowl on top. But we didn't have that many courses even then. So, yeah, that's the charger. Eventually, you're going to be using the plate for your main course, so they're going to take out the charger and then give you that entree plate when the main course arrives. If you're talking about the Western routine or order of courses, you're going to get your soup first, soup or salad. Sometimes they have both, which is really a formal dinner. That charger is swapped with the entree plate when the main course arrives. If something's swapped for something else, we'll also use out as a preposition, swap out, swapped for, swapped out. It just means it's exchanged for something else. It's traded for something else. And here we're talking about the entree plate. The reason why that word entree has that funny line over it is because it's French. So it's pronounced entree. And that's the entree plates when the big main course arrives, the one you're really looking forward to.
Right, so they're exchanged there. They're traded, you could say. They're swapped. Hey, I'll swap you 12 marbles for some of your baseball cards or something like that.
Hey, Tom, did you ever go to any swap meets growing up?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's kind of a place where you take your junk and you trade your junk with somebody else's junk.
I guess I'm from a very small town. We did not have that. You're from a larger city there.
A little bit.
Around Phoenix, Arizona there. But in any case, yes, they exchanged those plates there. The charger is taken away, and then the entree plate is set there in its place. And entree is like the main course of the meal. If you ordered a steak or fried chicken or crepe Suzette or Vichy Soie, Boeuf Bourguignon or whatever, those might be some of the things you ordered. And the next thing is the napkin, okay? The napkin, which, of course, you're going to need to wipe your mouth as food kind of stains the corners of your mouth and maybe stains your hands a little bit. So, yes, the napkin is folded and placed on top of the charger before the service. Now, that I've seen. Before you sit down at the table, you've got a nicely folded napkin on that charger there, on that plate there, and that looks pretty cool. And then the host, or hostess, if it's female, sometimes we do use that term, that person will place theirs in their lap first, and the guests should follow. So after you sit down, you got to check out the host and see if he takes the napkin and puts it in his lap or her lap, whatever the case may be. And when they do that, then you can do it too.
Last but not least, we have glasses. These are placed to the right above the knives and spoons. So we've got an order for these as well. The water glass is going to be closest to the diner, the person eating, followed by the white wine glass. Because some people will actually drink both types of wine, white and red. And then there's the red wine after that, and then the champagne glasses at the outermost edge. When you're talking about something that's at the outermost edge, it's the farthest away that it possibly can be from the center or middle of whatever you're talking about.
Brad, this is kind of an art, too. There are different glasses for different kinds of beverages. I remember one New Year's Eve celebration I had with some friends, and we had some champagne, but we had the wrong glasses.
Uh-oh.
And you might think, well, that's no big deal. Just use another glass. But because champagne is a sparkling wine, if you put that in the wrong kind of glass, all the bubbles will be gone in less than a minute. So you need to have the right glass there for champagne or other kinds of wines. Maybe you have different kinds of glasses for beer and milk and dojang or whatever, who knows. But yes, it is a science here, and this tells us all about the placement of the glasses. Above the knives and spoons, again, you've got a water glass, you've got a glass for white wine, one for red wine, and then a champagne glass. I think champagne, you can all figure that out because the word in Chinese is a transliteration of this word. I think it's xiangbinjiu or something, champagne, which I think is actually a region in France where these grapes are grown.
It is. So I wanted to mention, if you don't drink like I don't drink anything, water, you need to inform the waiter or waitress because they are going to be constantly trying to refill glasses, and it's difficult if they don't know, and so they might start trying to refill or at least give you the wine. So what I do is I tell them I don't want any wine or champagne, and they just take the glasses away. And then the waiter who follows up, because sometimes they share tables, the next waiter will know that I don't want wine, I just want water. So it's really good to inform the wait staff if you need something in particular.
And that's nothing to be ashamed of because not everybody drinks alcoholic beverages. Especially here in Taiwan, not everybody drinks wine or beer or whatever. So, indeed, don't be ashamed to tell the waiter or waitress that you don't want any wine. Water is fine or whatever. So, indeed, if you do want to drink wine, then these are some instructions as to where to place the wine glasses. At the outermost edge. And the opposite, of course, would be the innermost. outermost is the one or the area farthest from you. Now, we've got a list of all the different kinds of utensils and glasses here, but there's one we do want to focus on, the champagne flute. Why don't we call it a champagne glass?I
don't know, but this is what we call those special glasses that we serve champagne in. So you need to remember it's not a musical instrument they're talking about. It's the glass. And as Tom said, it has its own special shape. So that's pretty cool. Right now, guys, we're out of time, but we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
而接下来呢，我们就要来看一下盘子的摆设咯。盘子啊，其实在主餐来之前都会有一个大浅盘。这个大浅盘呢，就是餐桌摆设的中心。这个中心我们中文会觉得好像要用center 或者是 focus。其实那个中心焦点在英文当中有一个叫做 focal point。Focal point 为什么会说它是中心呢？因为在主餐来之前呢，不管是沙拉还是汤碗啊，都会放在这个大浅盘的中间，就是放在这个大浅盘的上面。那什么时候才会移走呢？等到那个整个主餐上来之后，浅盘才会跟它交换。所以这整段呢讲的重点是在这里。不过我们可能要稍微注意一下，在这个盘子摆设这一段当中，第二句中间有一个 as， 这里的 as 是 when 连接词，表示时间的意思。而下面第三句当中，我们可能要看一下和什么什么交换，用 swap 这个动词 swap。而所谓的主餐叫做 main course， 因为在西餐当中啊，都是一道一道上的，而不是全部摆在那个桌子的上面呢，由大家来分食。接下来我们看一下 napkin 这个餐巾。餐巾呢，原则上在上菜 service 之前都会放在大浅盘的上面。然后什么时候才可以把餐巾放在你的大腿上呢？要等到主人，也就是请客的主人，把他们的餐巾放在腿上之后，宾客才可以再跟着。最后面我们来看一下杯子。杯子的摆设到底要怎么摆呢？因为其实在西餐当中啊，有好多杯子，例如水杯、白酒杯、红酒杯，甚至到最后还会配一个香槟酒杯。所以杯子的摆设，我们来看一下第一句 These are placed to the right， 放在右边 above knives and spoons， 所以是右手边放在刀子、汤匙的上面一点点。那么接下来的顺序就是水杯呢，则会最靠近 the diner 用餐者。不过在第二句话当中，它的动词用的是 sit， 这个比较特别。逗点之后的 followed 其实是省略了 and is followed， 因为它是被什么什么跟着，它是被白酒杯、红酒杯跟香槟酒杯所跟着。所以在句子当中，为了要表达一种顺畅跟简化，把连接词的 and 省略，后面的 be 动词就可以直接删掉了。没有这个连接词的话，动词就变成 ing。可是 be 动词的 is being 在简化当中常常也会整个省略掉，所以在这里是一个句子简化。那当然酒杯这个部分的摆设则是会在边缘的最外面 the outermost。 以上是我们今天的课程，明天还会谈到不同国家的 table manners， 别走开哦，我是 Anna， 拜拜。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us, but we're going to continue talking about table manners in different countries here, not just the tableware, but actually customs involved when you have dinner in France, Thailand, India, and Mexico. So please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.